Welcome to the Oracle City Homes podcast. I'm your host, Wally Silva. Today we're coming to you from the stunning Commons at LF Forest. This community features modern homes with 3 bedrooms, 3 baths and a half, and fantastic open spaces, including a spacious backyard and a gourmet kitchen. I'm excited to introduce our guests today, the Coselli Brothers. They'll be sharing their insights on the real estate market and finding success through social media. Be sure to like and subscribe, sit down and relax and enjoy the show. So first and foremost, thank you guys for coming in. We're really happy and honored to have you both here. I know both of you have had very much success in social media, 27,000 followers, 90,000 followers. So how did you get from starting at 0 to this point right now?
It's taken a long time. It's taken quite a long time.
Yeah.
I think at least, for me, it's been years and years, probably 7 years since I started growing it to be that many. And it's all kind of organic. And you run into people who try to take the easy way and buy followers and things like that. And that never works. I always tell people, like agents, when I bring them onto our team, I'm like, it doesn't matter if you have 1 million followers in another country. I'd take 1,000 here in Texas because they're going to make me the dollars. They're the people that I'm going to be talking to, right? But yeah, it's taken a long time, and Instagram doesn't make that any easier. They're always changing their algorithms and what they want to promote and how they want to promote it and what they want you to do as a user for them to push your content. So it's a learning process the whole way, but time and consistency are the only 2 things that really matter. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it. The consistency is key. You got to show up every day, I think, and just hammer socials, posts, stories, what we're doing right now. That's the way.
That's the way. And what did you do before becoming an agent?
So we both have worked in food service. We both kind of, I think, use that to. It's something we've noticed when we're recruiting agents and hiring and training agents, is that we notice that as a pattern quite a bit. And I think whether you're a waiter or a bartender, whether it's an industry where you have to be a people person, or at least you have to be very good at pretending to be a people person. And so you learn how to talk to a complete stranger, right? And so that has helped us and many other agents massively in forming a connection quickly. Because let's say you're a waiter and you're just meeting this table that sat down for the first time, and you don't know them whatsoever. You have to find some common ground, try to get them laughing, talking, liking you, and at least in my experience, that has helped. It's been 10 years now that I've had a license, but I think I definitely draw back to that in interactions.
Yeah, I was waiting tables in I guess it was like 2017. I was waiting tables, and like I just gotten out of college and I couldn't find something that I liked to do or that paid well, I guess, too. And so I'd been waiting tables for like a couple of years, and then Tom just was like, one day he was like, "Hey, I found this thing in real estate. It's called apartment locating, and it's doing really well." I'm like, he said, "It's like picking up money off of the floor," is what he said. And so I was like, "Okay, let me give this a shot." And so that's how I got into it. Is just I trusted his lead kind of, and kind of changed everything. It started there, definitely.
Awesome. So are you the older one?
Yes.
Nice. So what's the age gap here?
30 and 33.
30, 33. Okay, so 3 years. Mm-hmm. Nice. So you pretty much led the way in this. You started apartment locating, and then you transitioned to finding buyers.
Right. Yeah. And I think so. When I started doing that, speaking of social media, Craigslist was a big part of how we found. Yep, Craigslist. Yeah, I mean, I had at one point 1,000 active Craigslist ads, and it was wild.
How did you keep up?
It was all I did. All I did was post on Craigslist and show clients apartments, and obviously social media has come a long way since then.
Was this like before TikTok and stuff?
Oh yeah, this was before Instagram, really, because Instagram, I don't know if you remember, back in the day, Instagram was only photos, and it was like only one. Like you could post one photo and that's it.
With the crazy filters.
Yeah, with weird filters. Yeah, but with
got heart emojis.
Exactly. With Craigslist, you could post a listing, but with multiple photos and a description, and it was kind of like, okay, let's try that. And then Instagram came along and changed their ways, and is now you can have a storefront, sell product, merchandise, branding, partnerships, sponsorships. Like it just really, they turned it into a money machine. But in the early days it wasn't. And so just really we realized that, and we're like, okay, one Instagram post is better than 1,000 Craigslist ads. And so we immediately converted to social media, other platforms. I don't know if I call Craigslist a social media. It's just a selling, buying and selling. So we jumped to social media then, and that was when we started building our social media and just adapting to Instagram as they changed features, added carousel where you can add multiple photos, add music, and then video, create reels, because you couldn't create video initially. And they added reels, and they added broadcast, and they added YouTube or IGTV and all this stuff.
Subscriptions.
I
was lucky to come in right after the Craigslist.
You didn't have to deal with all the seedy Craigslist.
Oh my God.
People still use Facebook for that. I know it's a lot of people window shopping, not very serious, but there's people that still do it.
They still do it, yeah. So there's definitely different avenues now to like get buyers. So now that you're mostly a buyer's agent, right?
Right. We buyers and sellers. Yeah, we've jumped from leasing and apartments and that sort of thing in the last few years over to more sales. Still help clients of all kinds, but that's our main focus.
Your main focus. And what was that moment where you're like, wow, like this social media is taking off? Like this is something that is really going to change our business if we continue being consistent. Like what was your aha moment when it came to social media?
I don't know. I don't know that I've ever had like an aha moment, but I guess it's like when one of your reels is doing like I have one that did like 10 million or something.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, when it just starts going crazy and your phone's blowing up, I guess it's like a wow.
When you're like,
like, this is cool.
This is how many people I can reach for free. You
realize like the power of it, I guess.
So let's talk about that. Like you get a video, 10 million views, like you see all these messages. How did you what did you see at that moment? Did you see people just saying, hey, I want to buy with you, I want to look for, like what happened in that moment when you started getting all these messages?
Man, it's a mixture of everything. Yeah, you get some people like trashing the listing, like this is terrible. You get some people that love it, some people that are just saying it's cool. But I think you quickly realize, okay, this is cool. Like I like that I'm going viral or whatever. But at the end of the day, and my brother always has said this, is like it has to translate to clients and closings at the end of the day. So you kind of have to, you realize, okay, this is great, but now I have a ton of work to do. I have to weed out a couple million people. But it's good. That's what you want,
Yeah. I admit Mark has had a couple that have really, really blown up. I just had one with just past 2 million. And honestly, and as my kind of first experience, it is so inconvenient. And I did a little thing on my story on Instagram about this because I was just kind of sharing my experience with it, because like you said, you get a little of everything, but you don't get a little, you get a lot of everything. So obviously you get people saying, oh, this is a terrible home. Then you get people saying, that's my dream home. And then you get everything in between. And then you get a lot of people who are obviously not serious. And the way that I have, and I think we both use Instagram is a, a genuine lead source, and so we kind of have things set up with different, DM inboxes by people who, there's like a general inbox and then another inbox. So I kind of, as soon as I get communication with somebody who is more serious, I switch them over to the general or the other inbox. So I kind of keep those separated a little bit. And then obviously we export them to other platforms. But when you get an influx of 1,000 DMs and 10,000 comments, it's just everything gets mixed together. And like, I like the way I explain it in my story is like, it's like my desktop. And I got all my important stuff separated out how I like it. And then someone comes in with a trash bag full of junk mail and just goes, and it's just a pile of this you have to sift through. And it's almost more time and effort than it's worth. I probably lost some legitimate inquiries within all of that mess. And so, again, there's pros and cons to everything. And obviously with social media, the pros far outweigh the cons. But some of those you don't even know till you experience it. Like when you have something blow up and get millions of views, that was one part of it I wasn't prepared for at all,
Yeah, and it's never the one you think it's going to be. Like it's never the video you think it's going to be too. Yeah.
When you go through that phase of filtering, do you do it yourself? Do you have a team that kind of goes through it? What's the process in that?
Some of both. We've worked with assistants before on and off. and who help kind of organize things. And obviously we pass on leads to people and on our team. And so I like to have a pretty direct hand in it. I feel like not that it almost feels disingenuous if I'm not, the one responding to my clients. Now, obviously there's a certain point where you have to have a team around you. And so you all have to be in sync and to communicate that to your clients. But, I definitely feel like someone's approaching me because they have a connection. They see a point of connection with me in some way, for whatever reason.
So we just closed on a house last week together, and this couple were from out of state.
Yes.
And they contacted you through IG, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and I realized as we're going from orientation to the walk, like you barely just met them, like, so that's amazing that it was an instant, like, even when we were negotiating, it was a quick, like, that was the day they came from out of state to see these houses. And, they put an offer in, we see them at the home orientation walk, we see them at the final walk, and they closed. It was a 30-day time span or a 45-day time span. Talk about that. How did that transition go from, hey, you're ready to buy it, we're going to do it, we're going to schedule a date? Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, you guys have a great product, and so it was an easy sell. But they were from out of state. They reached out via social media, and we, I try to call my clients immediately and just sort of kind of break the ice and talk to them, get them comfortable, working with me. And after that, it was we had a pretty short time frame, and I think to make that work with someone that you haven't known that long, you just have to really, it comes with more experience, but being able to identify what's very important to them and to communicate that, say, look, we have a short timeline that we're working with, kind of a pretty short window to shop here. Let's really identify what matters. And so we were able to do that. We were able to identify their priorities and find something they really love. Fortunately, like I said, it's a great home and they love it. And we sort of, I can say we got lucky on that one, but things definitely moved in our favor considering we had a short timeline.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that was a great transaction for you, for it to be like something so quickly to get someone into a house right away, especially with this market. How often do you get people like that?
Ooh.
That are just the smooth.
Yeah, the quick
ones. Gosh, it's just it's sporadic, I guess.
It's definitely a mixed bag.
Yeah, those you always hope for that, but they get mixed in there. You can tell some of that, some of that's done on the front end. Like depending on how good your system is for when your clients come in and qualifying them, you can weed through a lot and kind of better understand their needs, like you said. And then from there, you can kind of gauge what kind of transaction is it going to be, So
yeah, even within there's buyer's agents and there's listing agents and everything in between. I think there's a social media agent. I think that is a type, and typically we're dealing with short time frames. These are people that are comfortable with short time frames. They're comfortable with being a little out of their element because it's a new type of buyer, somebody that's willing to jump on social media, find a home, and come from out of state, meet that agent who they've never met before, and then put an offer on a home sometimes that day. It's happened more than I think we can speak to. It's interesting, but I do believe it's not even new anymore, but it's an emerging kind of buyer. That's the social media buyer and the social media agent, and when you get those two together, good things can happen. And but no, and so everything takes time and experience, working with different kinds of people, and like I said, within the buyers, within the different types of buyers, that is one type of buyer. And to be able to handle that smoothly, I think you have to have experience with that type of buyer. And again, we're talking about, we promote on social media quite a bit, so we see that kind of buyer quite a bit, and we've gotten personally more comfortable working with that type of buyer.
Because especially like for a great deal, the good deals are going to go quickly, and so I think we have a good relationship with how fast we need to move and stuff like that. So if the buyer's ready, we're ready.
Exactly.
So it works out.
So I think what I'm understanding here is that first meeting, that first conversation you will have with them, or let's say the first Zoom meeting. That's what's really important to determine exactly, is this is gonna go ahead, like be something quickly, or is this something we have to work with? I noticed too with a lot of buyers is figuring out what is it that they need. Do they need down payment? Do they need a lower interest rate? Do they want 100% financing? And I think we've talked about it, like with your buyer. And I remember telling you, like, hey, 17,500 from Bank of America was a good option. And it was, I remember you're like, hey, now I have someone, but then they ended up going that route and it ended up being great for them.
Works great. Yeah.
And we start seeing, like, okay, this is something we could use over here. We could use with,
like I said, identifying priorities quickly, I think, is critical, and finding out what's going to make or break the deal. Like with the short time frames, that's kind of, you got to go down that checklist and say, all right, let's get the big things out of the way, and the little things we can deal with as we go. Some of the big things you can't really deal with as you go. You got to kind of lay the groundwork right away, and that's definitely one of them. And yeah, just experience working with that kind of buyer, I think, is important.
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot. Before, agents used to say, just get a pre-approval and then come back to me. But now it's been more, okay, I need to know a little bit more about financing to know exactly what to pitch to the buyer, so they're not wasting time with 3-4 lenders. Hey, this is what you're looking for, this is what we have, this is going to be the best resource.
There's a lot that's changed.
And how has that changed in the way you're working now, from the 2020, 2022 market to today? Like, what is there something different you're doing to be a little bit more aggressive, especially because we don't have 100 people flying in to buy a house like back in those times?
I think now you kind of have to be like an everything agent. Before, like you said, you would let the lender handle the financing, like just go get a pre-approval and then come back to me. Then I'll take it from there. Now it's more like, we're doing the shopping on our end for the best lenders and finding the best incentives and trying to set the client up from start to finish, finding the best inspectors, and just taking care of them as a whole package. Instead of just finding them a good deal on the real estate. So many other factors are going to help with that, with the buying process. And so just equipping ourselves and getting the right team, assembling the right teams around us. That's what I've been doing. And I've found that helps a lot.
100%. Being nimble, being able to pivot to someone else. If you're like, all right, this is who I think is a good fit. Oh, it's not. Let's move over here. And they're ready to work with us. And yeah, no, absolutely nailed it. You have to be more full service as an agent than you ever have. You have to provide more value than you ever had to. You have to provide more education, as we talked about, that than you ever have, because it is challenging. You're not only trying to save the client money on a home, you're trying to save the money on all those other pieces of the puzzle, all those other ways. And that's why bringing in a close team means that your communication, you're cutting down on. That's another way that you can be successful with someone that's shopping on Instagram or has a shorter timeline, is to have that good team around you. And so you're cutting out so much time where you're done shopping. If they want to use their own lender or whoever, that's totally fine. But if they're in a time crunch or they're not sure, then we have that to offer, a short list.
Yeah, I think in this climate, we need, agents need to have options. And so you want to find, as a buyer, you want to find an agent that has the most options, the most resources, obviously, but you'd be surprised. A lot of people haven't made those connections to, because like you said, what's that driving factor for the buyer, and we find out what that is and we tailor those options based on their specific situation, so I think that's really important right now.
You got to be that dual threat quarterback. You gotta. You used to be. You could stand in the pocket. Now you got to move around. You got to be nimble. You got to move. You got to read that defense a bit more, and have some more weapons in your arsenal now to compete. Obviously, that's the other half of it. Is there's so many people so many realtors out there now, especially on social media too, and it's a little bit more complicated of a game now than it has been. So,
so this is what I tell everybody. I tell my agents, and this is a weird way to look at it. I understand, but I think so. Social media is kind of like, that's what you're referring to, right? Like our day to day on socials. It's kind of like having a girlfriend or a boyfriend, right? And so you have to be dating and take them out and treat them well and give them time and attention, and think about if you if you date someone for a month, right, and you're sending them flowers and taking them out, and it's great, and then you disappeared for 2 weeks, the relationship would change completely. You would come back to a different situation that you left. So I think every day you have to show up, and really check in, post your story, do some DMs, use the creator tools and stuff like that, and just stay consistent like we spoke about earlier. And so the day-to-day is just all the time, honestly.
And I'm noticing too, I was looking at your Instagram, you also do a lot of personal videos, like you're sharing videos with your kid, and it keeps the audience
Right.
engaged, right?
Right. My that's a great analogy. I think that's exactly the way it is. And it's even, your time frame's even shorter. It's like if you go on vacation, you better schedule a couple of posts, or your engagement will dip if you leave it alone for even a couple of days. And you can bring it back. It's just, it takes a lot more time and attention. And yeah, so as far as like personal stuff on Instagram, aside from real estate related stuff, I think that's super important. I always say when I'm talking to somebody about social media, like, you want to give people as many reasons and points of similarity that they could have with you. Like, you want them to be able to reach out on a number of things. Not everyone's comfortable talking about real estate or asking what they might consider a dumb question. So, we have agents that are great. They're kind of foodies, as that's kind of what they add into Instagram, right? And so, I can't tell you how many times someone reaches out and says, "Oh, where's that restaurant?" That you're at right now, because they're having dinner and they're taking a picture and they're tagging the restaurant, or they don't tag the restaurant, and someone's like, "Oh, where is that? That looks amazing." And then that puts the power in your hands to then steer the conversation to real estate. They wouldn't have reached out otherwise, but they did because they're comfortable. They're also a foodie, or they also enjoy whatever. And so I always preach, look, give people more points that they could reach out and connect with you with, that they can relate to you with. It's more than just real estate. It's, we're people that happen to sell real estate, not realtors that just happen to be people. We try to look at it from that way, because, these are relationships that we're forming. I have relationships with so many clients now that, I wouldn't have had otherwise. So you got to mix it up. You got to keep it some personal, family stuff, some vacation stuff, some foodie stuff. What's your favorite coffee shop? And all those things need to be incorporated into at least on your Instagram story.
Yeah. I remember the buyers were mentioning, "Oh, Tom has a rock climbing thing now." And I'm like, "What is Tom doing outside of here?" He's
we built a rock wall upstairs and for the kids, and I can't tell you, that's a great example. So many people reach out about that. These are people that have sold homes before. They're like, "Oh, how do I put that in my house?" And then we're, and it's more than just that client too. It's if they have a good relationship with you and they feel like they're, or they are your friend at that point, then they're going to send you their friends and family as well. And
I think, let's use the example of the rock climbing, right? Buyer sees it. How can I put it? Hey, this is where I bought it from. Like, you have a storefront now. Like, it's crazy how these little things just become something bigger.
You never know.
You never know what. And like for you, it's just like, hey, I put this up. You didn't think it was something like, oh, someone was really interested in that. And then from there, you can convert that into, this is how I set up the rock climbing thing. And I love seeing how we could just incorporate our real estate, our company, our brand into a personal thing of tying people in, because that's what builds the trust. That's what builds the rapport. You answered. It wasn't a bot. You responded. You say, hey, this is what I did. They build that trust. They say, hey, by the way, I'm thinking of buying an investment home in Texas, and they're in California, or maybe I should move in, and you already have that click instantly. So it's pretty interesting to see that. So talking about a little bit more about obstacles, what obstacles are you guys facing now? Is there anything maybe with social media that you feel like the trends are changing, I need to change, or maybe with the market, any obstacles you guys see right now with your buyers or with your sellers?
We were talking about the interest rates were crazy, but now there's some of the builders are doing like 4.25%, 5%. That's been my main obstacle, and it's changed very recently, which is interesting and good. So I'll have to pivot back for that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, interest rates have played a huge part in the flow of things. And then even just from the social media side, algorithms always changing. You run into a brick wall, all of a sudden your engagement drops off. You're like, well, they changed something. Some metric was changed that's now affecting my business, and I have to experiment. It's an experiment. Everything is an experiment. Constantly. The goalposts are always moving across all aspects, whether that's the interest rates that are changing, whether that's new new forms that have to be adjusted to and educated on, or even the economy and things like that. Everything, it's always a moving target, and just that's why you have to be so tapped in to what's going on.
And where are you seeing a lot of buyers from out of state? Or your buyers are mostly here?
Geez, Canada, it's crazy. So many. I sold
Yeah.
some Canadians a house the other day. Yeah, and then California. I think the states you would think, right? Like
Yeah.
California, New York. Lots of people coming from like Chicago,
New York's crazy. So
Los
many
Angeles,
people from
New York,
and California.
and they have two states I think on their mind, and it's Florida and Texas. And you have a lot to choose from in Florida and Texas, and so when they see how far their dollar will go here and how much they'll save on income tax and stuff like that, it's like a no-brainer, these two states.
Yeah, I came from Miami. I'm from Miami, born and raised. I came back December 2020. I moved here. One of the reasons I came was the fact that I could buy a whole house for what I was paying in a rent.
Yeah.
In a 1-bedroom, 1-bath over there in Miami. I was 305 till I die. I would never leave Miami. That's how I grew up. But once I got married, and my husband and I were like, man, like we're stuck in this, unless we're making good money to stay in the city. If not, we had to go out very suburbs, be stuck in traffic for almost 2 hours. Is it really worth it? Those were my questions. So now I relate a lot to those buyers that are coming from California, coming from Florida. And I realize I have that, where I have all those buyers from Florida that are always asking me about Texas. It's like, yeah, this is a whole new, like you can do so much more with your money here. Granted, the beach is not as great, but but I always tell them it's an $80 round trip to Miami. Hey, go for the weekend. Like it's still.
You have more options here.
You have more options.
And like I said, people are going where they have the options, and yeah, if you can save, if you can make X amount more a year and save X amount more a year and have a bigger house, but take an $80 trip to Miami, that makes sense.
It makes sense. So it really, it's finding those options for them, right? And I know the agent I worked with too, they were from Miami and kind of gave me that idea of like, hey, you can always fly back, not a big deal. And sure enough, I was 27, just, all right, let's go, let's try it out and see. And I love it. It's so now a lot of people are seeing that, like, okay, Texas has that option. Same thing in New York. People are living in these tiny apartments, paying $3,000 a month, and then for that, you could buy a whole house. Right. It's crazy. So you have more space, you have more freedom, you have all these other options that you could do. And I think now a lot of buyers, especially out of states, they come with pets, and a lot of people not with kids yet. They plan to start their family here. So it's cool to see how that transition is for them. And sometimes I forget, like, I'm really doing, like, we're part of this big choice for them, They're making a huge life choice. And it's not just a transaction. It's a real, genuine thing. And, the transaction we did last week, like, those buyers, they're starting a whole new life here. A month, 2 months from now, you're going to see their life change, and you'll still be connected with them.
Sure.
And they're also maybe have family that will come down and want to buy too, and you continue building that connection. So, but unless you have that social media and you're showing up and being consistent, they'll always remember you, and I think that's like the most important thing. So just kind of want to wrap up and see what's kind of like the call to action. Like, how do you want people to reach out to you? How do you want them to get connected? Is there any events or anything you have upcoming that you would like for us to join, or have anybody else, come network with you?
Yeah, that's something we need to do. We have happy hours every now and then, and we'll host, and we'll have like a title company sponsor and lender sponsor, and so that's always fun. So we'll definitely keep you posted on that. Yeah, you can find us on social media pretty easily. Just type in our names and we'll come up. And that's a great way to reach out to us. We have our phone numbers, emails, all there. The phone's always open. I think that's important as realtors, to be accessible. And so we try to make ourselves as accessible as possible.
Awesome. And are you guys hiring right now? Are you adding more people to your team?
We are. We kind of, that comes and goes in phases, and we're definitely going to be, I would say, within the next month, we'll be moving more into a hiring phase, and we'll bring on a few good agents.
Nice. Where do you get your agents now? Is it through word of mouth? Is it you go to events?
It's a little bit of everything, I'd
I
say.
think it's a little bit of everything.
Obviously, social media is a big,
Really?
Yeah.
That's where you get
a big source. Yeah, you know, I think it's 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 easier now, I guess, to find someone that you connect with. As you know, we talk about how buyers find ways to connect with you. It's the same for realtors. You know, it's the same for people that may want to join the team. So they look at us and they think, okay, this person has this much following on social media. I see them posting that they're closing deals, and you know, then I see that they're this is a family person, or this person's more solo and just kind of just grinding. So that's another way for you. It has served a dual purpose in that regard, that it helps us connect with clients, and it also helps us connect with the real estate community, and even potentially people that want to join the team, because I can relate to this realtor. They're living the life that I want to live, or that I am living, and I can connect with them on that. And so it's a great way for people to get a little sneak peek into what it might be like on the team. Before social media, you just had to meet a realtor and take their word for it, as to what kind of life they're living, and what kind of deals they're closing, what kind of real estate they're in. And it was a little bit easier for people to just kind of it's a bit more difficult for you to join a team that you might find long-term success with. I think it's easier now. We're very open about what we do and how we do it, obviously. And we don't want to work with people that don't want to work with us, or who aren't comfortable working with us. And so we're pretty selective in our hiring process, but I think social media has been a huge help with that.
And that's part of what you teach them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once you hit your stride and realize what works for you. There's certain things that everyone should do, I would say, on social media and like building your business, but then you put your own spin on it, and so. Yeah.
What I tell people is maybe the most important thing is find something that you can do consistently. It really doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Within the realm of social media, whatever it is, if it's reels, if it's stories, if it's posting, if it's the carousel posts or video posts, whatever it is, just do it consistently. And if you think, you know what, I don't see myself being able to do this consistently, find another feature of the platform and do that. Find the formula that works for you, that you can stick to and make it a habit. And once you discover what that is, you can usually find your way.
It's like finding your purpose.
Mm-hmm, yeah. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, it's different.
There's no secret formula except consistency. That's it.
Until you figure it out. No, I love that. And now with, we talked about social media, we talked about upcoming things. So we mentioned you want to teach people. We talked, like how you mentioned, the new homeowners, they move into a house. What other type of filming or content you want to start posting?
I think we want to educate people more on a lot of things. I think definitely different parts of the city, kind of what it has to offer, proximity to entertainment and shopping, dining, nightlife, that kind of thing is important. Just sharing more about Houston in general, but making it interesting. You see a lot of content that has meant with the best intentions. It's just not captivating. And to find a way to make some less interesting things captivating, but that's still really important and valuable, is the challenge. We have a lot of things hopefully in the works, in the form of YouTube channels, podcasts, things like that, to kind of spread. Texas is a pretty easy sell. It's like you really have to compete with Florida, right? It's someone's like, I'm debating moving to Texas or Florida. Then you have to kind of sell Texas. It's not that difficult. We have a little bit of everything here. But definitely spreading awareness as to Houston as a whole and the different areas. Houston's so big. You can't just say,
I thought Miami was big. I came here and I'm like, wait, I'm still in Houston. It's been an hour. Like, it's so huge. So, and each pocket of Houston is different. There's specifics for the newlyweds that want to stay close to the city, single individuals as well, just want to have a little bit more of a party life. You also have the families that just want a walkable area, stroll around the park.
The difference between like the Heights and Edo or Cypress or, it's so different. And I think people have got, they understand now how good of a deal they're going to get by coming here. So it's like a no-brainer, but it's like, what part of Houston do you want to be in? Like you said, what is your lifestyle centering around? And so, we need to get more into showcasing Houston.
I did a video a reel on like the town lake and the boardwalk and all that, and that blew up. Got like over 500,000 views and stuff, and a lot of it was from Houstonians. People were like, "Wait, what's going on?" Just
They're like, "Where is this?"
30, 40 minutes away. You can do what? Like you can boat up to a plastic surgeon over here? Like, huh? And I was like, yeah, it's kind of news to me too, you know? And so that was fun, you know, and definitely things like that. So
I think that's added on to the knowledge that we have to put in our pockets. Knowing these little cities, little towns and you know, we always talk about we need to know exactly the restaurants, the schools, everything. So when somebody comes in, hey, this is what I'm looking for, you could plug and play at that point. So yeah, that's good information. All right, I really want to thank you guys. I think we got a lot of good information from you. Social media is, you know, the key, right? Bringing in those clients from out of state, from Canada, out of the country, like that's amazing to hear that. And we want to go ahead and start driving people to start doing that, right? Agents, I know they want to learn more, they want to be consistent, but finding that niche is really the key item, as you're saying. And keep trying until you figure it out. That's really what. For more information, visit our website at oraclecityhomes.com or give us a call at 832-649-5600. Thanks for watching.